We're going to turn now in our Siddur to page 64 for Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah. And we are continuing to work our way through the book of Exodus. As of last week, the Israelites had made it out of the danger zone, away from the Egyptians. They're starting their travels, and they have received the Ten Commandments. And we last week had the experience of meeting Yitro, their Moses' father-in-law, who gave him some sage advice about how to handle this group of people. And today, the Torah portion we read is Mishpatim. And Mishpatim is, sorry, I had to take my talus off for a minute. Mishpatim is, now we're getting into some of the more specific laws that the Israelites are going to have to follow. And remember, this is a people who don't know what it means to live as their own civilization. So they've got a lot of learning to do. It's, like when a little child goes off to school initially, there's rules in the household, and then there's a whole new set of rules in the classroom. And some of those may be very similar to what they do at home, and some of them may be very different. So the Israelites are now getting used to a whole new set of values, a whole new set of rules. And after I chant a little bit of Torah, we are going to talk about what some of those are. So this is a mishpatim. A mishpat is a law. A mishpat is a law. Mishpatim, the plural, meaning laws. And so please join me on page 68 for the blessing. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach, Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol hamim, V'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Ve'ele hamishpatim asher tasim lifnehem, ki tikne eved ivri sheshanim ya'avod uvashvi'im yetze לחופשי חינם. אם בגפו יבוא, בגפו יצא, אם בעל אישה הוא, ויצאה אשתו עמו. אם אדוניו ייתן לו אישה, וילדה לו בנים או בנות, האישה וילדיה תהיה לאדוניה, והוא יצא וגפו. ואם אמור יאמר העבד אהבתי את אדוני, את אשתי ואת בניי, לא אצא חופשי. והגישו אדוניו אל האלוהים, והגישו אל הדלת או המזוזה, אל המזוזה, ורצה אדוניו את אוזנו במרצע, ועבדו לעולם. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. Okay, so let me do as close a translation for you as I can of this particular set of verses that I chanted. It says, so here are the laws that are given before you. So God is relaying these to Moses, who in turn is going to relay them to the children of Israel. When you take for yourself a Hebrew slave, okay, so we know that out of Egypt came 600,000 Israelites and a mixed multitude of other people. They brought Egyptians with them, but this Torah verse says specifically, when you acquire for yourself a Hebrew slave or servant, they shall serve you for 7 years, and then they're allowed to go out free. And if they go out free, they can take with them, if he has a wife, he could take his wife. And if he also wants to take his wife, he can take his children, both his daughters and his sons. And they will all go out as free people. So they have to work for the owner for 7 years. Now, mind you, these are slaves who are Hebrew slaves of the Israelites. So they're not, and it was a different kind of servitude. It was not a servitude under harsh conditions. They were allowed to have belongings. They were allowed to have a spouse. They were allowed to have children. And when they left, all of this went with them, if after 7 years they decided to go. And if they say, and if the slave or the servant says to their owner, to their master, that they love them and that they want to stay and they want their children and their wife also to stay, they will not go free. What is done then is this very strange ritual by which their earlobe is pierced with an awl, and you heard the word mezuzah in there, and the mezuzah is not the little case that you hang on your door. The mezuzah is actually the lintel, the doorpost that goes around, and the slave's ear is pierced with an awl against that doorpost, indicating that they are now the slave or servant of that owner forever. But it was a different kind of servitude, and we can talk a lot more about that. But it's interesting that this was not considered to be a lifetime of servitude, that this was only for a period of time of the servant's choosing. Now, why would somebody need to be a servant to another Israelite, to another Hebrew? Well, some of them came out of Egypt with some material possessions, even though they were slaves. They were able to take things from the Egyptians. Some of them had belongings, some of them did not have belongings, and some of them needed a way in which to work for somebody else in order to create prosperity for themselves, knowing that it was a specifically dictated period of time after which, if they found that they loved the arrangement, they could stay. And if they found that they didn't love the arrangement, they would have the freedom to go. And everything that they had accumulated during that time, they were allowed to keep. It's very interesting because along with the laws of servitude, we get many, many other mishpatim, other laws. Um, Laws regarding the mistreatment of foreigners, observance of the seasonal festivals of Sukkot and Shavuot and Pesach, agricultural gifts that had to be brought to the high priest in the Holy of Holies in Jerusalem, prohibition against cooking milk with meat. This is the first place we get this. Lo tivashel gedi b'chalav imo. You shall not seethe, you shall not boil or cook a baby goat in the milk of its mother. And in this Torah portion, altogether, we get 53 mitzvot. 23 of them are you shall do so and so, and 30 of them are you shall not do so and so. So the you shall nots, in this case at least, are exceeding the you shalls. God once again promises the Israelites he's going to bring them in the Holy Land, warns them against the pagan ways of the other people, the other inhabitants that they're going to meet. And when the Israelites are being given these laws, these mishpatim, it's they say prior to getting the laws, we will do and we will hear. Na'aseh v'nishma. So this is the recitation of the laws that are being given to Moses on Mount Sinai. So it's before the incident of the golden calf. Moses is on Mount Sinai. He is now getting these laws. And the people are down below waiting for Moses to come back. They have been left in the care of two people, of Aaron and of another priest by the name of Hur, H-U-R. And those two guys are in charge of the Israelite camp, and Moses has gone up to Mount Sinai, and he's remaining there for 40 days and 40 nights to get the Torah, and these are some of those laws. And interestingly enough, when Moses says, hey guys, I'm going up to get the laws from God, what they say is na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will listen. Not we will listen and then we will do. But they agree that they are going to follow the laws of Adonai even before they haven't heard them. So, and there's more coming because there's going to be 613 commandments altogether. In this Torah portion, as I said, we get 53. And then we're going to get repetitions of them throughout the book of, and more of them throughout the book of Vayikra, of Leviticus, and then a whole repetition of them in the book of Deuteronomy. And so it's going to be quite interesting to see, even though they said, we will listen and we will do, how quickly they forget their promise, because we know that the sin of the golden calf is going to come due to their impatience for Moses to get back down off that mountain. And so the saga of Exodus continues, and all of this is great preparation for Pesach, because Pesach is just, I don't even want to think. I think it's about 6 weeks away, 6 weeks away. And we'll see how they do as they begin to trek through the wilderness and have to deal with becoming a civilized people and a law-abiding people. So that is the end of our Torah portion for today. We're going to continue our service now by turning back to page 63 for the Mishaberach. And this was an exciting week for all of us at Seacrest. So many of you were fortunate enough to get your second COVID vaccines, and I hope that's putting a little bit more of peace of mind in your hearts and in your minds, and that hopefully we're beginning to see a glimmer of a light at the end of the tunnel. And everybody knows that we have to continue to be very careful, but that at the same time, the dedication of doctors and medical workers, researchers, so on, has gotten us to a place where at least we can begin to feel a little bit more comfortable with knowing that we're rounding the curve. So we want to say Mishaberach for those in our own community, those whom we know in our own personal lives who are suffering from illness, whether that illness is spiritual, emotional, or physical. We ask God's blessing on these individuals. We ask that God strengthen the hands of the doctors and the other medical personnel that are working to restore their health. We ask that God give them a refuat hanefesh, a healing of the spirit, and a refuat haguf, a healing of the body, and that this be a complete healing. And so on page 63, let's sing together Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We continue our service now with our concluding prayers, Aleinu and Kaddish, beginning with Aleinu, which can be found on page 77. Please join me, page 77. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Our service now continues on page 80 as we join together in reading this beautiful interpretation of some of the verses from Ecclesiastes. Page 80. To everything there is a season, a time for everything under the sun, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to laugh and a time to cry, a time to dance and a time to mourn, a time to seek and a time to let go. This is the time we remember those who gave meaning to our lives. This is the time we remember the bonds that tied us together, the love that we shared, and the memories that remain with us still. And I'm sad that we have had 2 deaths this week. The death of our beloved Vivian Seligson, who lived in Goldberg, but had also been a resident in our assisted living building for quite some time. And Vivian was a very bright lady. She was a very positive woman. I found her to be a great conversationalist. We really had some lovely conversations, and she passed away this week and will be missed. Also, we are mourning the passing of our resident in independent living, Joan Reines, a rather unexpected passing. Joan made some good friends since she moved in. I believe it would have been about 3 years come March that she's been living in independent living. I took to her immediately because of her great New York accent, which reminded me of my mom's accent. Three wonderful, loving daughters with whom she was very, very close: June, Patty, and Diane. And Joan has found her final resting place in Los Angeles next to her husband, and we miss her as well. And we are still in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for the passing of Sally Whisper, beloved wife of our resident in independent living, Duke Whisper. And as I said, we're still in the 30 days of mourning for Sally. So for all of these and all of those whom we hold dear in our hearts, we say Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on pages 82 and 83. Please join me. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimaru. Amen. May God, who makes peace in the high holy places, bring peace upon us and upon all. And together let us say, Amen. So again, I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning for services. We are going to be resuming live services in the Charterot Synagogue with the first Shabbat in March, and more on that later, but stay tuned so that I can give you all the details about who's going to be in the synagogue, on what dates. We are really going to try to have residents from all our buildings there. Now that we're all vaccinated, we're still, of course, going to have to wear masks. We're still going to have to be socially distant. Hopefully, all of you will wash your hands and use some Purell before you come into the synagogue. But we are hoping to get back to a little bit of normalcy, and God willing, barring any unforeseen situations right now, we hope to resume the first Shabbat of March, which I believe is the 6th, Saturday morning, the 6th. I'll also be going back to doing Shabbat blessings in the dining rooms. And so I hope that will encourage you all to eat your meals in the dining room so that you can kick Shabbat off with blessings with your communities. Tomorrow night, I will be doing a Havdalah service, which I have not done for a while, and I hope you will join me for that as we say goodbye to Shabbos and hello to the rest of the week. That will be at 6:30. You'll be able to turn on your SVTV and watch that coming into your living room or your bedroom or wherever you like to watch. So I hope you'll join me for that. And of course, next week for Chai There with Rabbi Leah on Tuesday in the morning and the afternoon. And I believe it's repeated on Thursdays now. So keep tuning into your television sets until we go live again. And we're going to sing Mayafeh Hayom I have a beautiful challah this morning, which I'm very excited about. And so we're going to sing my Hayom. We'll do our Shabbat blessings. Please join me. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. As I mentioned last night, in our Shabbat blessings, we are for the time being, getting our challahs from a new purveyor from Schwartz's. They are, I guess you could say they're imported. They're imported from Los Angeles. Beautiful challahs, not as beautiful as our homemade ones, but a perfect substitute if necessary. So let's say Kiddush and let's say Motzi, and then I hope I'll see you tonight for Havdalah at 6:30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Enjoy your lunch today. I hope you get some nice rest, and I'll see you this evening at 6:30. Lehitraot. Bye-bye.